What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Ask a CISSP podcast. So this is the Thursday episode of The Other Side of the Firewall, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. Speaking of which, we have Mariah Simone Denson, been gracious enough to come to the podcast. So this has been in the making for a few weeks now to try to nail down our schedules and get you on. A lot of it's been my fault. A lot of movement, right? We talked about a little bit offline. Yeah, I got a whole grown up now, so graduation came up. But yeah, I'm super proud. Okay, I cannot wait to see how she adults, right? Like that
right?
going forward.
What type of human she's about to be
Right,
in the world,
exactly.
you know.
So I can blame myself. I'm like, you know what? That was me. She took after me. But no, so this is all about you, right? So I just want to dig into your background, your experience, what brought you into IT and cybersecurity, and then we're going to start talking about your business. So one step at a time. So if you could please introduce yourself and give us a rundown of your background.
Yeah, so again, my name is Mariah Simone Denson. I am the founder and president of a nonprofit called Global Patch, and this organization focuses on getting people into the games, eSports, digital production, and tech industries, primarily through education or career pathways. And so either I teach or we find other organizations that give out free resources or easily accessible resources to help get especially BIPOC people into these spaces, and then also focusing on their safety once they're there, because I don't think we talk about that enough. Also, I'm a doctoral student. I primarily focus my research on women and girls, Black and Indigenous women and girls in tech, specifically within video games and esports, and just
That's
how
awesome.
are they, I mean, it's so
Okay.
cool. It's so cool. Just focusing on like how can video game stimulation help learning, but also how can we use this technology to get these groups of people into, again, these career spaces. So that's pretty much like the rundown of who I am in this moment. You know, we're always evolving and changing.
That's amazing. So again, like I talk about it every single time. Like my first encounter with anybody on the podcast, I like to come in completely blind and somewhat unprepared, which I'm working on it, right? Like I have enough of the pieces to have a intelligent conversation, but I like to have those wow moments, like the one that we just had, where you're a doctoral student. So now my mind is racing, right? So one thing at a time. So why the passion when it comes to Black women, Indigenous women, and things of that nature within the video game and esport community? Like, where does that stem from?
Yeah, so a little bit of background. Like, I'm a lifelong gamer. I've been gaming since I was like 3. My first system was an Atari, and then it was a
Okay.
Nintendo 64. Yeah, my dad was a gamer, so he like passed down his consoles to me as he
That's
got the
awesome.
newer ones. And then my passion for women and girls grew as I started service learning and volunteering for like different organizations like Red Cross. And then I worked with USAID with specifically Indigenous women in Central and South America on economic development. And then again, I'm still gaming in the background. Like, I'm working in the service, but I'm still gaming in the background. And then truthfully, COVID-19, you know, we're on lockdown. I live in an urban area, Northeast Florida, Jacksonville, and I saw a lot of things that I didn't agree with, that I didn't like, that I felt like something needs to be done. Like, these kids don't have internet access. They don't have access to internet. And the government was telling these parents, especially Black parents, you know, send your child to the McDonald's, send your child to the Starbucks to use the internet. Like, okay, who in their right mind is going to do this? And then on top of that, it was just watching as people directly in my neighborhood was affected, in the sense that there was a lot of computer illiteracy. I mean, in every way that you can think of it. I know when we think of computer literacy, most people just think of like, you know, how do I type on the computer? How do I cut on the computer or use it? But No, it's like, how do I use this machine to get
Right.
access to resources, to jobs, and how does it protect me? How is my information protected? I saw a lot of people in my community get scammed through the internet. And
Right.
so, yeah, I took it upon myself to start Global Patch and just getting involved in my community using the best medium that I knew how, which was gaming and esports. And that has since evolved as I started diving more into tech and working with startups and learning that the same technology that's being used for gaming is the same technology that's being used at the U.S. Department of Defense. They're using Unity, they're using Unreal Engine, they're worried about cybersecurity. It's the same, it's just in different industries of use. So that's ultimately how I got here.
No, see, I find that fascinating. So, not a doctoral student. I don't plan on going back to school anytime soon. But I was an adjunct for a time when I was overseas. So I was an adjunct professor, and one of my classes was kind of like an introduction to networking. Like basically, this is the basis of computers and how they talk to each other. And we talked about the tech drought or the tech famine and how it did disrupt and impact rural areas and usually people of color. So it's fascinating that you saw that as well, and just how that does have a significant impact, right? That's another it's another roadblock on the race that we call life, right? Like it's basically we're getting shot in the foot at the starting line because we just don't have access. Like, I didn't have a computer when I was growing up either. In Buffalo, I didn't have my first computer that I owned until I was in tech school, right? When I was in the military, I built my first PC. Any other time, it was either rent a center or it was me, like you said, to the library or somewhere else for access, and that does put a hamper on our youth and elderly as well, right? So, no, that's great that you decided to put your passion there and start your own business. So, another entrepreneur on the show. So it seems as though I'm picking these people on purpose, and I'm not. I'm just fortunate enough to have a network that's full of people who are, kind of leading the charge in this regard. And you, by far, have a very colorful background, especially when it comes to gaming and how it blends into IT and cybersecurity, even to the point where you're the first person to send me a media kit. So when you sent it to me, I was like, what is this? When I clicked on it, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, this makes sense. I was like, why is this first one seeing this? Like that is definitely, like, you're definitely leading the charge when it comes to being the tip of the spear. So you talked about Unity, you talked about Unreal. So why the focus in those two engines specifically? Because I did see that you have like an Unreal chapter that you either work with or that you host. So why is that the engine of choice?
Yeah, so full disclaimer. However, you get access to whatever game engine to do whatever craft that you're trying to do, we fully support it. I specifically chose Unreal, as well as the folks at Unreal chose me based off the work that I was doing. And then also the information that I was giving out, again, through my background of just being in the space of working with engineers, I had learned so much in such a short time period, how these different technologies are being used, specifically how Unreal Engine is being used for like virtual reality, simulation learning, especially within the military. And anybody can look this up if you go to like us.gov and look at the Department of Defense. Like, they have their list of grants, and within those grants, they actually tell you, like, we will give you this grant if you are using these tools or these materials. And sometimes they outright list, like, you must know how to use Unreal Engine, Unity, or Frostbite, or what have you. Like, there's so many engines.
Right.
And some people are literally creating their own and mix and mashing them together based off of the outcomes that you're trying to get. So I am certified by Unreal Engine. I do have an authorized chapter in Jacksonville. So that just means, like, if anybody's trying to learn, if anybody wants access to those resources, they can just get in contact with me. And for free, like, I will help you learn. I will help you get access and figure out how best to get you involved with the engine and see what you're trying to do with it.
That's really cool. So I'm a pure science dropout. I always tell people, like, I tried, I hit a certain level of math, and it was like my best was a C, and I was like, I'm out. I can't, I can't go. I just wasn't disciplined enough, right? And that's when I joined the military and what have you. So my youngest, so Mason, I've been taking him to, he goes to Code Ninjas,
Coding
and
camp. I
yeah, so he's going to
saw.
coding camp,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's on the
and
robots and the AI,
yeah,
right?
he
Get it?
loves it. He loves it. So this week he showed me he made an obby with a certain rule set. Like
Mhm,
he had to basically like here's a board full of rules and you have to make sure that your game does these things that has
mhm.
certain objects and he was explaining it to me, running me through it, and I was so proud. I was just like, this is amazing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yes. We love the critical thinking
yeah.
skills, you see.
Yeah, I
With
was like,
the
okay, that makes sense. Like they said you had to do this, and then you made this combination, and
Mhm.
I just kept dying. He was thought it was hilarious. He was like, "Do you want to make it easier for you?" I was like, "Yes, please." Like,
Not make it
yeah,
easier.
I was like, "Yes, please." Like it was the hardest platform I've ever played in my life. I was like, but I was still like, this is great. And then he ran through it, and he was able to do it no issue. And I was just like, you look like one of those, you ever see people do the speed runs of old Mario levels?
Yeah.
You're
Mhm.
like, how are you doing this? But yeah, so I guess as a parent, so I have a question for you as a parent.
Mhm.
With the rise of AI, right? So the camp he's going to, they're doing 2 weeks of Roblox,
Mhm.
uh, a week of Minecraft, advanced modding, robotics, and then it ends with AI,
Ooh.
a week of AI. So I'm just like, it hurt my pockets. But I was like, if he loves it, if he likes it, I love it, right? So I just want to make
Mhm.
sure I support him in it. Um, should there be any concern with the rise of AI? Because my wife and I actually sat down and talked about it. Like, we want him to continue to do like you said, critical thinking. He's having a blast. He's networking, right? He's meeting friends and they're making games together.
Mhm.
Is there any concern of the for the future when it comes to the integration of AI and kind of where it's gonna hopefully take us as opposed to replace us?
So, there are much concerning points with AI. It really comes down to what are we using AI for and whom has the power to leverage AI. And by that, I mean, also I work with a lot of like First Nations and Indigenous people. So right now, there's this great concern about, the continued colonization of what we own, such as like art, creative spaces. What is AI going to do with that? And then also, how is that potentially going to be used for someone else, or in some cases, weaponized even? So, like, there's this concern with AI all the way around. However, uh, if we're talking about children and their use of AI, as long as you are helping your child understand again, those critical learning concepts, making sure that they understand what the foundation is before they start implementing, the practice use of AI, then they should be fine. So, like, for example, I'm going to use like a recent example that I did. Um, so I had to create like a short little brief or something. I was like tired, running out of creative juices. So, I pulled up ChatGPT and did the prompt and, something came up. Um, However, I'm able to take that prompt and word it in such a way where it's in my tone. I can clean it up. It's still a piece of me.
Right,
So
right,
if we're teaching our children how to do that, like put your foundation first, have your ideas, learn how to critically assess not just what it is that you're trying to prompt the AI generator, whatever it is, because we're seeing AI do written prompts and now we're seeing
right.
videos and images, but also understanding on the other side, how are we implementing these AI outcomes for our greater good or for somebody else's greater good? And just being mindful too of the practice in which we're using AI. I think that's very important as we're teaching this new generation. Don't be scared of it. Be humbled by it. And also understand that this is a tool to be used, not for you to be dependent on it.
See, I like that take. Because so I use it for assistance as well, right? So production is not my calling. I hate it. I just want to be on camera. Right? I want to be talent. I just want to show up, be on camera, roll out. But I don't have anybody for production. So when it
Right.
comes to thumbnails, when it comes to, like you said, posts and articles.
Mm-hmm.
Like I repurpose our content, so I feed it to ChatGPT to give it my tone and all that other good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, you have to round it off, right? Because it has a bunch
Right.
of AI-isms. It likes to say certain words and
Right.
and
You know,
certain
like have some discernment.
yeah.
Yeah, have some
So like
discernment.
that's not something I
Yeah.
would say, so I need to remove that and replace it with something I would say, right? So no, I do agree with that, and I like that take, because there are a lot of people who like just we don't want AI meddling and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, how I feel is you still have to know what you're doing, right? You have to be a
Mm-hmm.
good programmer to know when the AI is not doing it properly. You have to be a good cameraman. If you want to
Right.
generate video, like, okay, I want it to be this speed, this angle, people doing these things. You still have to be the director of whatever content you're
Right.
creating.
And it still does require those critical skills. Like you still have to know, for example, reading comprehension.
Right.
Because you're going to be reading what it's spitting out. And you have to say, like, does this sound like me? Does this make sense? I don't like how this is worded. And that's how you clean things up. So it still is going to take those critical lessons that you're taught, or those foundational learnings, reading comprehension, critical thinking, basic reading and writing,
Right.
mathematics. It
Yeah.
still requires that of you.
Exactly. So, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a lot of people who are into liberal arts and things of that nature, who understand how art is supposed to work, understand how writing is supposed to take place,
Mhm.
that will get the biggest bang for their buck.
Mhm.
Because if you just ask it to do something, it will do something. It just won't be what you asked it.
Right?
You're like, that's not what I wanted. So I do like that take on it. And you seem to be a very creative person. So I am doing the best I can with what I got, right? But hearing you kind of say some of the things I've said to others, I'm like, okay, cool. Like I think I'm on the right sheet of music, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely.
When it comes to Unreal, like I thought it was really cool to see that you were a chapter lead for it, because I find it like it's amazing. Just seeing where gaming is going to go, right? Like I'm playing Tenua's Sacrifice, I believe, is Hellblade 2. So I'm playing that, and it's the prettiest walking sim I've ever played ever.
Right?
Like the facial animation, there's things of that nature, but I'm starting to see a lot of my movie content, a lot of the TV shows I watch are all being done in Unreal, right? With Unreal backdrops and things of that nature. And I'm just like, this is the future. Like everybody's going to have to kind of understand a little piece of it in order to make and generate content. So I'm like, that is not only like, is it cool that you're involved in that chapter, but that kids are and young adults are gravitating towards it, because I really do think that it's going to be a lot of the content we make in the future will be that. Unity, on the other hand, I don't understand it. Like I said, I'm pure science dropout. I know it's used a lot, so I know a lot of my favorite indie games, things of that nature, are running off of Unity. But I don't think that's what my son's learning quite yet. He's doing Python, and I think he said like Lulu was something that he was learning.
Yeah, so those are the coding structures behind the engines. Like Unreal, it's good to know C++, because if you're doing anything extra behind the scenes,
Gotcha.
having that knowledge helps you build.
And I had 1 year of it, and that was it. We got to differential equations, and I was like, all right, I'm a psychology major. I bounced. That was it for me for my undergrad. Seeing him pick up, like he's only 9 years old, and seeing him pick it up and just like, man, like first you have your mom's brain, but secondly, just the adaptability that children have. I'm just like, this is so cool to see him do it. What are the age ranges of the people that you work with within your chapter?
Anywhere as young as 8 and as old as 55 or 56.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because for some people, it's a passion that they've always been interested in. They've just been either scared to make the attempt, or the biggest thing that I come across is people just not knowing how. And so that not knowing causes so much fear that people will not even attempt. So I can honestly say like 50% of my job, of me even stepping in a classroom or stepping to teach someone, is honestly just coaching them through the fear of like, it's okay to break things, like it's tech, break it, it'll be fine. Like that's what the learning process is about. Like, don't be so afraid of it. And so yeah, like kids, I love working with kids because they're so fearless. They're not afraid to just try it. especially when you prompt them like, hey, it's okay, like have fun, break it. Like they will learn themselves with very little input from me. Older adults have like this childlike curiosity, but again, that fear is just so like pungent that it just requires a little bit more work. But even then, once you get them to a place where not they understand it,
Right.
then they can apply it for themselves. And then it's just watching them again with that childlike curiosity of play, you know?
Got you. No, that's awesome. So, how does this tie into the esports aspect of it? Because I have I have a ton of questions when it comes to that as well. So,
So it's interesting because when I first got started, I was just focused on the educational learning aspect of it. But then again, I'm introduced to these kids who are building things in Roblox. They're building things in Fortnite, and they're also turning it into tournaments. Like they're turning it into competitions. And they're not just building things in tournaments, but they're also participating as athletes. And so, like last year, I just went through like this whole educational journey, if you will, of just wrapping my mind around like what is esports exactly. Because sometimes, especially in the South, people like to confuse esports with video game devs, and those are two completely different things.
okay,
Um, and so esports has its own business, its own industry, and it requires a lot of work. But you see these kids, and not even kids, like adults too, when they show up to play, you know, MK1 and Tekken, like
right.
it's real. Like there's money on the line, there's ego on the line, and when you peel back the layers, like there's just this whole business behind it. And so through educating myself, and learning about it and seeing the people in my community that were interested in actually participating in the industry, I decided, okay, like let's open this lane up as well because the two work
Okay.
hand in hand. It's just one is more on the media side and the other one is behind the scenes on the tech side. So
Got you.
yeah.
Okay. So, like my only entry into it was like early on. So when MLG was kind of becoming a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Major League Gaming. And being in the military, I think I was in Alaska at the time. We started PMG, right? It was professionally military gaming. And we had like a very small, tight knit group, and then we kind of we did Madden tournaments and Halo and things of that nature. So we did a little bit of things, but at the time, it was before esports really blew up. So
Mm-hmm.
when I went for like small business grants, they didn't understand what I was talking about. When
Mm-hmm.
you would talk to the small business administration, like, nah, it sounds like gambling. You can't gamble. That was back when you couldn't even
Right?
gamble online,
Yeah.
right? So like the olden times, early ops. And since then, I've seen it just blow up. Like even to the point where now there's an Army League, there's an Air Force League. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're actually established and they're doing things. And I'm like, this is really cool. I wish it was happened 2 decades ago, right?
Right? But that's the thing. It was happening. It was just in a different way. So, like for example, I was part of a tournament for it's this game called Combat Arms. I was like in the 7th grade playing with at the time. I didn't fully understand it, but like grown men, and
Right.
we're in a clan together, and we're competing for so Nexon is the studio that used to be in charge of it. And so the prize would be you would get access to these weapons because it was pay to play pretty much. For the
Okay.
more, you know, the more high tech weapons, you had to throw like $2 of your real money into the game.
Got you. Okay.
But they will open these tournaments and for the weekend, and you had like 3 days to like climb the ranks so you can get 30, 60 to 90-day access of all these weapons.
Okay.
Um so I saw a lot of that growing up in different ways and in different manners. It wasn't necessarily through monetization in the sense of, you know, you're getting $30,000,
Right.
$50,000, but you were getting like in-game currency or in-game access. And then there was the general like arcade games because I was introduced to Street Fighter by going to the local laundromat.
Right.
And, you know, they had the machines in the building, but it would be like a crowd on Sundays at these machines. And sometimes the lady that works or owned the laundromat, like, she would put up these little gifts for whoever had the top score at the thing. So
Okay.
there's a lot of like community tournaments, online tournaments. It's just evolved. It's such a big and massive industry because these people see like there's money to be made.
Oh yeah, billions of dollars are being made. So yeah, because I remember as a kid, yeah, like X-Men Children of Adam was my jam. Like I used to go play that the corner store at Penny Candy. Like that's no longer a thing. Like it's probably like dollar candy now, but
Right.
and we would go there and play games and things of that nature. But yeah, arcades just died out. Like you have to go like a Dave and Buster's or a Main Event to find an arcade machine and actually be able to jump on it and play games and what have you. But yeah, like you said, it's evolved, right? So now everybody, like, you can just play at home if you really want to play. So with the esports and the like helping the community to kind of educate on tech and bringing in more resources and things of that nature, what current initiatives do you have going on that, like, please feel free to plug whatever you have going, like shout out links, whatever we can help you with, because this is like to see this initiative, and especially to be there for people of color, indigenous people, things of that nature, women, it's few and far between. So again, when I saw your profile and what you were doing, I was like, this is amazing stuff.
Yeah, so we're doing a lot. So if you're going to DreamCon, we will be there at DreamCon 2024 in Austin, Texas. They are having a career fair, and if you have any questions on site, I will be there, so you can find me. You can also go to our website and send an email or message us, and we will answer you. We will help you. Also, we'll be doing workshops at WasabiCon in Jacksonville, Florida in October 2024. I have those dates as well. You can click the link. We'll be teaching about game dev, cosplay, like how to professionally cosplay and to make money.
Okay.
And then also how to stream as well. How do you stream? How do you monetize your streams for digital production? And basically make a career out of that, as well as, and this is my biggest take, is how do we take these skills and make them transferable into other industries? Because you can be a professional streamer and go into media production at your local news channel,
right,
or news station. Also, I'll be doing workshops with Unreal Engine throughout the year. Our first one is coming up this summer in July. We're having a hack retreat in Colorado Springs. Again, all this information is on www.globalpatchgaming.com. And of course, if you find me on LinkedIn or if you find me on the web, it's all there. But yeah, we have a lot going. So
yeah, we'll have all that in the description. But you did bring up a lot of good points when it comes to the transferable skills, right? So I had an interview with Rico Rando that probably aired today, because I'm like a week behind. It's crazy. Just so many talented people have blessed me by being on the show, that I'm working on my workflow. So at the time, I don't know if I said this out loud, but if you depend on AI to help you with assistance like production and things of that nature, ChatGPT decided to take a sick day, and that threw me off for like the whole week. So just like if you had a real employee and they don't show up, like I literally could not log into ChatGPT and create thumbnails and things of that nature. You're just like, well, just jump to another AI product, right? Use Gemini or whatever, but they all have different personalities. So I can't just jump to another platform and it sound like me, right? Because I haven't trained it. So it's crazy. But I like what you said about transferring those skills. So like kids who are learning how to Twitch stream and things of that nature, like like when it comes to production, when it comes to the actually working with the tech, right? Like how they set their audio and their backgrounds, what equipment they use, the AV side of the house. Again, those are major transferable skills. And then how do you sell yourself? Right? Like every stream, like you have to have whatever your niche is, right? Whether it be, like you said, dealing with cosplay or personality driven and things of that nature, that does transfer very well to other media products. So again, like this is all the stuff we don't really talk about in the community. And I really like that you're highlighting it, especially because I'm seeing a lot more of people of color who are starting to jump into cosplay, who are becoming personalities within this space. And it makes me like really excited, because when I was younger, like You were the weird kid.
Yeah, you were.
Right?
No, you really were. Unless you grew
Yeah.
up like on YouTube back in the day, like
Right. So
yeah.
like to see us like be able to shine and do these things and it becoming more natural and the
Hmm.
community being more embracing it more, right? It's more impactful. Like you can become someone in this space as well is amazing. So thank you for that, especially being someone who can be a role model, someone that people can look up to and reach out to in this space. Because yeah, like when I was a kid, like that kid's weird.
Right? But it's more so like I'm all for the safety of people, and I experience firsthand of you have a skill set that you just don't know if it's going to transfer into these other industries because there's no one to sit down and tell you like, oh, they're using that over here, or yeah, I see what you're doing over there, like you could use it over here. I didn't have that, and I had to learn like the hard way of what not having access meant. And then I have a background in international travel. Like I lived in Japan, Korea, and the Bahamas, and
Oh wow, amazing.
I've seen like firsthand the need to have these transferable skills, whether it's hard skills or soft skills. I know with you being in tech, you've seen like there's been a lot of layoffs in tech.
Right.
Like, right? Like tech in itself can be a bit hostile. Today you may have a job and tomorrow you may not. And so I'm very focused as well on letting people know like if it's not working out over here in games and esports or production, let me show you what they're doing in these other industries and let's develop a pathway so that you can still put food on your table.
No, that's a noble initiative, and it does help to be adjacent, right? Like, because we talk about, okay, you might not be cybersecurity, but you don't have to be. You can bring those skills, whatever you were doing. Like, I always use the example of I was talking to Matisha Harper. So Tish was a flight attendant, and she was talking to me about transferable skills and soft skills
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature. And I'm like, with your job, like that's high impact, right? If emergency kicks off and you're in a
Mm-hmm.
metal tube 30,000 feet in the air, like you're the person everyone looks to for what is the disaster preparedness plan? What is the business
Mm-hmm.
continuity plan? Like I wasn't paying attention when you're reading the pamphlet. Like what do I do with my hands right now? And all those things are definitely transferable. So it's just a matter of thinking outside the box. So in
Mm-hmm.
your case, like saying that, hey, these things that you're doing on stream, these things that you're doing to prepare for your video and audio presence, definitely go into podcasting. They go
Mm-hmm.
into news. They go into pretty much any type of production you can think of, especially if you have other adjacent skills, being that you can code and you understand
Right?
how a camera works,
Mm-hmm.
how lighting works, and cosplay being with makeup and costumes and things of that nature. Like all this stuff goes into the movie industry, television, and
True.
things of that nature. Like
And
that
even
is amazing.
to your background of cybersecurity, because I see kids do this all the time. They mod games. And it's like that is a strong component of cybersecurity because you're learning the system and you're learning how to game and beat it and work around it. And
Right.
somebody who made this game doesn't want you to do that.
Right, right, and you're able to circumvent whatever they built.
Right?
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's all adjacent, it's parallel. You just need somebody. I feel like, and this is just my hot take, someone just needs to stop gatekeeping this information and move out the way and just give it to the people.
yeah, and you
Like,
find the same thing in this industry as well, right? When it comes to cyber, and it's starting to loosen up, but yeah, there's a lot of you have to have experience before you come over here and gain experience. Well, how does that
mhm.
work? Like how I wasn't born with certifications in this degree. I had to learn these things. So why don't you provide a pathway? Why don't you help me to learn those skills? Give me a hand up so that way I can
Mhm.
come into the industry and be able to do the same for people who look like me, people who might come from the same background or culture as me as well. But you brought up some really cool locations. So when it comes to travel, so I'm super jealous. I tell everybody I've talked to so far in the past 3 or 4 weeks have all been to Japan. Even one of my co-hosts now lives there, right? He moved back to Japan with his family. I could not get over there. I could, for the life of me, I could not get to Japan, and I am a huge nerd, and that would be my mecca, right?
time. It's
So,
definitely whenever you're
where,
ready.
where did you live at in Japan?
Okazaki in the Aichi
Okay.
Prefecture. So like towards the mid bottom of the country.
Okay.
It's known for its samurai culture because Okazaki
All right.
is the surname of a very popular clan that was there or that is there. And then also there's sakura trees. It's so beautiful.
Okay.
Highly. It's in the countryside, but I loved it. Highly recommend.
Got you. Got you. And what brought you there? Was it work, or like what brought you to Japan?
It was both work and play. I just like you, I really wanted to go, didn't know if I would ever get the chance. And ironically, at the time, I was talking to a bunch of YouTubers that were living over there. And so one of them, we had been talking like for almost like 2 years. Yeah, they let me know that, there's this job that's opening up and send us your credentials and, we'll see if you're a good fit. And so I got over there basically being at first like an English teacher. And then I became a like community ambassador through a
Okay.
program. So like for anybody that's interested in traveling, yes, teaching English is a good way to get in. But if you can grasp the language and or if you can network really well, like there are other opportunities for you, like to be a cultural ambassador. You can work with the government. You can work with media corporations. Like it's endless. You just have to get over there and in the door.
Got you. Got you. No, that's great. Now I'm sure some multiple people in the audience are like, hey, how do I get over there? So you have some pathways. And I've heard English teacher being one of those quite regularly, right? That was a good foot in the door because I'm like, yeah, I speak it fluently. Like, can I teach it though?
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. And do your homework because there's a difference between teaching public and private, and I've done both things.
Okay.
They have their nuances, but yeah, there's multiple pathways. If you can go in through a corporation or through their government, in my opinion, that's the easier way to go. And also it's a little bit more sustainable, in the sense that they'll take care of your housing. You'll make good money, so you won't have to worry about that. And then also your flights home to visit family will also be paid for.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a pro tip right there. So you said Japan, I heard Bahamas, and what was
Yes.
the third location?
South Korea.
Okay, so South Korea. So Bahamas. So I visited the Bahamas just touristy wise, right? Bahamas, Jamaica, places like that. What is it like to live there? Is it just as relaxing as the vacation, or you know what I mean? Because people live in Hawaii and they're like, it's not the same experience as
It's not.
vacation in Hawaii and
It's
living in
not.
Hawaii.
It's not at all, but I love it. I love the people. So when I'm over there, I work with a bunch of nonprofits and I help do basically like business development or educational development. So I build international educational programs. And again, that's like utilizing the things that I learned through my experiences at other nonprofits and USAID. Like once you learn how to do this, you can replicate it sort of everywhere you go. And in the Bahamas specifically, when you get on the Carnival cruise and it pulls up to Nassau,
Right.
that's your tourist area. But once you go further past like Box Hill is what it's known as, you'll be really into the community. And it's very different. Like the people are so loving and so giving. And they have this way of communicating that at first you're like, huh? You want what? Pillar and post.
Right.
You want what? But yeah, and this goes to anybody wherever you're trying to move or live. There's a distinct difference between visiting someplace and living someplace because you're getting to know these people and you're understanding that what they're going through, you've gone through, or what you're going through, they're going through. So you have this shared lived experience. And then also in some parts of the Bahamas, your internet and your electricity cuts out. So at night.
Right.
So yes, it's not like being a tourist at all.
Got you. No, that's good to know. Yeah, because when we went to Jamaica, our last family vacation was Jamaica, and I was just like, man, I just want to live here. You're right, living there versus vacation there is probably a lot different. But I'm going somewhere. I don't know where. Like, I
It's gonna
love I
happen.
love
It's just,
America, but when I retire, I'm living somewhere overseas. It's gonna happen. Once these kids all go to college, Costa Rica, Jamaica,
ooh,
somewhere, I'm out of here.
yeah.
Um, So, talk about your background, your experience, Global Patch, and all the great things it's doing in the community. You definitely dropped some gems when it comes to travel, as well as trying to be an expat, trying to work overseas, right? I definitely would like to dig more into that. However, I only have you here for a certain amount of time, so that'll have to be the next episode. I want to get to the everything else, right? So,
Hmm.
you're an entrepreneur, you're super busy, you got a lot going on. What do you do to unwind? Like, what is your very limited free time look like?
Oh, so first and foremost, I'm a gamer through and through, period. I wouldn't even be in this space, I don't think, if I wasn't. So a big piece of my life is enjoying play. I can't stress that enough. Like, I'm on Fortnite.
Okay.
I'm talking ish with the rest of the people in the chat. I'm on Call of Duty. It's very toxic over there, but hey, I'm here for it as long as we don't get too out of pocket.
Right, right.
And I have my casual RPGs or The Witcher, and I play The Sims.
Okay.
But offline too, I'm a water baby. I'm a Floridian, so I love the beach. I surf, and and I travel. So I would say those are my three solid fill your cup moments for
Gotcha.
my.
No, that's definitely something that's important. And we always try to stress that, right? Even the way the show is broken down. So Fridays we talk about everything else, right? What did you do outside of work? Because we get caught up in that, and then it's always the rat race, right?
Mhm.
Especially, I'd say for everyone, but especially entrepreneurs, because like your livelihood is your work. So I can see
Mhm.
you continuously doing that, right? Like even for me, just with the podcast alone, like some nights I'm up to like 2, like, oh, I gotta get this thumbnail right.
Yeah, and that's stuff that people don't really see. They only see the outcome, and sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. But no, that's awesome. And yet, yeah, so I'm getting back into gaming, right? Like I used to die hard. And then you have kids and degrees, and I don't know how
Mhm.
you're doing with the doctoral. Like when I was going for my master's, like there was like Witcher 3, I think came out during that time. Either
Mhm.
Witcher 2 or Witcher 3. I still haven't played it. That's I cut it on. I saw the map lit up with all the icons, and I was like, nope. Nope, I'm out of here. That's 100 hours I could not spend on that. So how do you find that time between the two? Like, how do you say, okay, like now I'm going to compartmentalize. Like now is the time for me to do my gaming thing versus my doctoral thing.
Well, first and foremost, I have a planner, like a paper planner, and I write and structure my goals of what needs to be done within the week. So I'm not actually saying like, okay, I need to do all this in a day. I structure my week out as if like I want to get these 5 things done within the week. And then I'm just hyper conscious about how I spend my time. So I limit, for example, how long I am on social media. Because I can get lost scrolling, and then next thing I know, like 3 hours have passed. So that would be my biggest tip: is just practice mindfulness of your time. And I don't know, I feel like what I'm doing now is so ingrained within me. It doesn't feel hard or like work. Not to say that there are moments, especially with grad
Right.
school, where you just like, I don't want to do this no more. But it's just being mindfulness of like, okay, I'm gonna do this today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna cut it off, and I'm gonna go outside and touch grass, or I'm gonna log into my PlayStation, talk to the fellas, and let them know like, I got 2 hours, let's get this in. So really, it's just mindfulness and yeah, just enjoying what I do.
No,
I
that
wish
and
I
those
had a more profound answer.
no, that is in itself. Because I think a lot of people overcomplicate it, right? They're like, oh, I got to figure out like how do I work-life balance. I always say there is no such thing. You
Hmm.
focus on what you find to have value. Like, okay, I'm working towards my doctorate. I have a passion for what I'm trying to do. I'm going to make the time for that. But also, I have to not go crazy. So I need to
Right.
be able to find that time for these other things as well. And the same thing with entrepreneurship, right? Like you tell your loved
Hmm.
ones, like, hey, I'm building a brand or a business, so I'm going to need to carve out this time to do that.
True.
But here's the time that
Community.
I've made for you that I definitely want to make sure I don't lose focus of that, right? Because
Yes.
this business won't be there on my deathbed. Hopefully you
True.
will be.
Yes, and community, you brought up a good point. I want to highlight that too. Community. Community is very important. Letting your community know what you're doing and also your boundaries. Because I've been in positions where I'm working hard, and then thankfully I've had friends, I've had loved ones that's just like, hey, put that down. Like, we're going out to eat, or we're going to go see this movie. Like, that's so important, having community that recognizes and supports what you're doing, but also that are strong enough to say, like, take 5, take 10. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's
community.
awesome. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, I haven't heard it put in that terminology before. Like I've heard, like obviously friends and loved ones and things of nature, but your tribe, but your
Hmm.
community, yeah, the people that you trust, the observe, like, yeah, she needs to take a break.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna help her with that, and then you trusting your people to say, okay, you can see something I can't see, so
Hmm.
I do need to take a break. So no, that's awesome. I think that this was a very enlightening conversation, especially talking about just the other side of it, right? Because
Hmm.
I don't think that I don't think our community focuses enough on the other things we can do, right? Like you don't have
Right.
to just be like especially in our community, a doctor, lawyer, nurse, like these are the things that you can be a personality, you can be a developer, you can be a programmer, things of that
Hmm.
nature. Like, and that's what I'm trying to definitely stress to my kids as well. Like, you don't have to be just the things that you've seen; you could be other things as well.
Right.
Like,
You have
what interests
options.
you? Yeah, what interests you, and then try to go with your passion. Um,
Right.
and
But
I
you're
don't think, yeah, we
But
don't
you're
focus on that enough.
also divinely created that you can do all those things. So if you want to be a doctor and a gamer, you have something, you're
True.
intersectional. So you can be all those things.
Very true. So yeah, this was great. This is super enlightening. So like this, I would say is the same. Like when I talked to Sam Brown, he's an author.
Yeah.
So I talk to people who aren't necessarily always in cyber because I just want to talk to my people about what they're doing and then show a spotlight on that, right? Not for everyone, like no matter what your color is, but the platform is for people of color, and you can be anything, like you said. Like
Mhm.
you're not just one thing, you're not just one type of person. So no, this is a great conversation. It's definitely like I got to get you back on because I have so many questions that we could not cover. But again, your time is precious, and I want to make sure I get you out of here in a timely fashion. So definitely continue to tune in
Yeah.
throughout the week. So Tuesday, our topics, Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. So I have interviews like this and conversations with people of color who are in this space or people who have initiatives to help out people of color in this space or any space, really. We're starting to broaden our horizons, and there's so many things that are adjacent to cyber, adjacent to IT, that it just makes sense. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, like how do we unwind? What do you have going on? Like I had dental issues. We talked about that, right? And definitely check out all of the content and media that we produce, right? So it's not all going to waste. Every episode gets an article, and all those articles get rolled up into our newsletter that goes out on Fridays called it's called the Weekly Rundown, just like the Friday episode of the show. We have almost 1,300 subscribers now, so it's building up. So please go ahead and subscribe as well, and then go to the YouTube channel and please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get our numbers up. You can find me at all the places. Either I'm RY Security Guy, that's RY Security Guy, or Ask a CISSP, and all the media platforms you can think of. And where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Mariah Simone Denson. You can find me on the interwebs, on Twitch. My gamer tag is Pink Cadillacs with a Z at the end.
Okay.
You can also visit my nonprofit, globalpatsgaming.com. You can also visit mariahsimone.com if you want to learn more about me and my research, as well as follow me on YouTube. I do YouTube videos as well. Or however you found Ryan Williams, you know, like,
There it is. Yeah.
yeah, I'm somewhere around lurking.
Got you. So yeah, we're gonna have all the links to all your things are gonna be in the description as well. But yeah, definitely if you have any interest in any of the above, because there is a lot of again transferable skills and things of that nature. And this is a really cool space. So definitely reach out to Mariah Simone Denson for all those things. And then we'll definitely have you back on the show as well when your calendar is free and I don't have crazy graduations and things of that nature.
I mean, but those are good problems to have.
Oh yeah, I definitely can't complain. But thank you again for being so flexible. Check out all the things and all the places. Stay safe, stay secure.